Record speeds and a new look to the track too tough to tame greets the NASCAR Winston Cup drivers at Darlington. A fresh coat of asphalt makes for a record qualifying run for Jeff Gordon, over 170 miles an hour. But the new pavement proves to be too much for certain drivers. All told, Doyle Ford is forced to bring out the caution a record 15 different times. And in some way, shape, or form, 29 of the 42 starters are involved in either a crash or a spin. Lap 27 proves to be costly for a couple of contenders, as on the restart from the third caution of the afternoon, Michael Waltrip, Mark Martin, Rusty Wallace, and Bobby Labonte all get tangled up, with Wallace's car getting on top of Mark Martin's for a second. While Wallace and Martin are done for the day, the others manage to pull away.
Michael Waltrip, this is Benny Parsons up in ESPN. You read us?
Yeah, Benny.
Man, this has been some day, hasn't it?
Have you ever seen the like of stuff I've gone through?
Meanwhile, Jeff Gordon is once again the dominant car, staying out front for most of the afternoon, leading 160 of the first 190 laps. But on lap 200, trouble for the DuPont car as Randy LaJoie spins right in front of Gordon. And with no place to go, Gordon is done for the afternoon.
I don't know what happened. I just saw LaJoie spin in front of me, and I was like, where am I going to go? And I tried to go high and follow Bobby, and there wasn't a place to go. And if I would have gone low, I might have spun the car. Who knows? I mean, we're out of it now. It doesn't really matter.
The most serious incident of the afternoon comes on lap 217, when Rick Mast, Bobby Labonte, Dick Trickle, Lake Speed, and Jeff Burton all get together. All drivers walk away, although Bobby Labonte is the only man to sustain an injury, as he fractures his left shoulder blade, but otherwise all the drivers are okay. With only 9 men on the lead lap, the finish is settled between Dale Earnhardt and Sterling Marlin. With 12 laps remaining, Marlin gets by Earnhardt and holds off the Intimidator for the win. Sterling's first victory outside of a Daytona 500, as he wins a very bizarre Trans-South Financial 400.
You know, we've run the same as we had. I tell you, the crew's really worked hard all winter, built these new Monte Carlos and practice pit stops. They've been practicing pit stops all week. We got beat Atlanta a little bit, and they give me great pit stops, and you know, the team's pumped up and fired up, and I am too, so we're going to try to win this championship.
After Sterling Marlin's win at Darlington, the 5th consecutive for Chevy's new thoroughbred, the Monte Carlo, NASCAR mandates that one car from each camp, Chevrolet, Ford, and Pontiac, be impounded and taken for testing at both GM's and Ford's wind tunnels.
We didn't really go with any predetermined question, so we weren't searching for any predetermined answer. It was a good opportunity to take all 3 makes to the tunnel. What we'll do is just try to piece all of the information together, make sense out of it, and then take it from there. That could take us some time, though, because there's a lot of information there.
The Monte Carlo has certainly been impressive, and although some Ford drivers feel there need be some rule changes to even the score, others feel like it's simply all part of the game.
They got a lot better car than they had. We had a better car than them for a while, and now we don't have as good a car. What's the big deal? You know, that's how I feel about it. You know, what goes around comes around.
But Bristol marks the beginning of the short track season, where aerodynamics don't mean quite as much. The popular belief is that this race will be won by the best team and not necessarily by a car that has an advantage.
It's the people that make it happen. I think we've got good engine builders, good pit crew members, good fabricators, and obviously the pit stops have been good.
Here at Bristol, it won't make any difference because normally after about 20 laps there aren't any hood and fenders.
After the secret wind tunnel test, NASCAR gets what it calls parity at Bristol, where Mark Martin in a Ford qualifies on the pole, Jeff Gordon outside row number 1 in a Chevrolet, and Kyle Petty starts third in his Pontiac. It's those 3 drivers that keep the lead amongst themselves for the first 260 laps, exchanging the points 7 times. Dale Earnhardt doesn't have his usual good luck at the high banks of Bristol, as the defending points champ gets nudged by Jeff Burton while running second. It's a tough day for the former champion from there, as he limps home 25th. The most excitement of the afternoon comes on the heels of this John Andretti and Ted Musgrave incident. Ricky Craven, in an effort to avoid the wreckage, gets airborne and on top of Ken Schrader's machine. All drivers keep their cars going in the right direction and continue running. With 100 laps to go, Jeff Gordon gets by Mark Martin to take the lead for good. Gordon, never really a fan of the short tracks, tops his best finish of 17th at Bristol with a win in the Food City 500, outlasting Rusty Wallace by 6 seconds. Jeff Gordon, continuing his hot streak, captures his 4th Busch pole of 1995, this time at North Wilkesboro for the First Union 400. The Monte Carlo continues to dominate as Gordon and Dale Earnhardt run away with the show, exchanging the lead several times. The only Ford to make a real dent in the top spot is Rusty Wallace, as the Miller Genuine Draft car leads 54 laps. A battle with the flu bug combined with the springtime heat proves to be too much for Kyle Petty. After 390 grueling laps, Kyle is forced from his Coors Light Pontiac with complete exhaustion. Kyle is pulled from the car after a great effort. But it's Dale Earnhardt who runs away with a relatively incident-free event as he dodges only 3 caution flags and the North Wilkesboro heat to collect his first win of 1995. 13.5 seconds ahead of Jeff Gordon. And yes, the Chevrolet Monte Carlo is still undefeated through 7 races.
Everything worked great, so I thank good wrench and Richard Childers, Spinny, Andy, all the guys at the shop. They did a great job. So finally got to victory lane. We've been close all year long. Finally got to victory lane.
With his first win of the 1995 season, Dale Earnhardt increases his lead over Sterling Marlin in the NASCAR Winston Cup point standings as we head to Martinsville, where unfortunately rain visits the NASCAR Winston Cup circuit once again, this time delaying the start of the Haynes 500 for 2 hours and 40 minutes. Once the green flag finally falls, it's Bobby Labonte who leads the field to the stripe after capturing the 2nd Busch pole of his career. Doesn't take long for the action to get going. Lap 5, a wild incident involving 7-time champion Dale Earnhardt, Morgan Shepherd, and Terry Labonte, whose car almost flips over. Earnhardt spends 19 laps behind the pit wall making repairs and finishes a disappointing 29th. With only 183 of 500 laps completed and Rusty Wallace in the lead, the red flag falls once again for rain. This time, the delay tallies just over 2 hours. Finally, with daylight running short, the race once again gets underway at 6:02 p.m. Rusty Wallace keeps his Miller Genuine Draft car on the point, but Ted Musgrave has the fastest car on the track. After starting 32nd, Musgrave tracks down Wallace as darkness draws near. On lap 341, this Greg Sachs spin proves to be the turning point. As Wallace goes low, Musgrave decides to go high. Both avoid the accident, but Musgrave loses some valuable ground which he would never make up, as the Haynes 500 is called due to darkness after 356 laps. Rusty Wallace picks up his first victory of the 1995 season and the first for Ford, breaking Chevrolet's 7-race chokehold on victory lane.
This Ford really ran great today, and I was real happy with it. I'm taking it easy there, and right there at the end, almost got too easy. I looked in the mirror, and Teddy was right on my rear end, so I had to step it up. The guys, I lost all the radios; they quit working, and then I heard Robin say 3 to go, and I said, "What? I can't believe we're going to end this thing this quick." But I really had a real hot ride today.
Lots at stake on our first trek to Talladega, Alabama, with Sterling Marlin being the focus. Through R.J. Reynolds and the Winston Million program, he could potentially collect upwards of $300,000 with a win in the Winston 500, the second of NASCAR Winston Cup's 4 big races. Terry Labonte leads the field to the green flag, but it's outside pole sitter Loy Allen in his return to NASCAR Winston Cup racing, who leads the first 13 laps. The race goes relatively incident-free, with the caution flag flying only twice all afternoon. Heartbreak befalls the Kodak team as Sterling Marlin's machine breaks a rocker arm, which costs them 43 laps in the garage making repairs. Things get interesting late in the race as some good luck, some misfortune, and a couple of drafting partners play big roles. After a long string of bad luck at the superspeedways, Rusty Wallace tries to reverse that trend by going an incredible 170 miles on his last tank of gas. With a 15-second cushion on the rest of the field, Wallace is only able to make it 159 miles as he drops to the apron out of gas with only 5 laps remaining. He finishes a disappointing 20th. Dale Earnhardt then assumes the point and appears to be on his way to a win. But in the tri-oval approaching the white flag, Mark Martin ducks to the inside of Earnhardt, and with the help of Chevy driver Jeff Gordon, Martin's Ford surges past Earnhardt to take the lead, bringing Gordon along with him. Then between turns 1 and 2, the draft of Morgan Shepherd and the lapped car of Dick Trickle try to get past the Intimidator. But the aerodynamic push isn't enough as Shepherd gets loose and makes contact with the GM Goodwrench Chevrolet, sending Earnhardt into the wall and out of contention. Martin then holds off Gordon as the two race back to the checkered flag as Mark Martin collects his first win of the season, making it back-to-back wins for Ford.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it. With 2 to go, I thought we'd lost for sure. And, man, it was just great. Right when we caught Dale, or when the 24 caught us, we caught him just at the right time to get a big shove. And Dale was putting a block on us, but we were coming. We were going one way or the other. So it was just perfect.
What a wild scramble at the end. What happened?
Got in a wreck.
Did you get a little help up there, Dale, on that last lap?
I don't know. Watch the replay.
His 21st place finish at Talladega Superspeedway dropped Dale Earnhardt into an even draw with Jeff Gordon, each man with 1,314 points. But with more wins, 3 to Earnhardt's 1, Gordon leads the points and takes a $100,000 bonus home from the R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company as the point leader 1/3 of the way through the 1995 season. Next stop for the NASCAR Winston Cup Series is beautiful Sonoma, California, just north of San Francisco in the wine country for the first road course race of the 1995 season, the Save Mart 300. It's Ricky Rudd capturing the pole. No surprise, it's his 4th Busch pole in 7 races at Sears Point. It doesn't take long, though, for Mark Martin to take the point. Martin shoots to the front on lap number 5 and clearly has the car to beat. It was a relatively incident-free event. One of the few cautions came out on the heels of this accident involving Davy Jones, Dale Jarrett, and Rusty Wallace. Jarrett's car ends up on its side and stays there for a while. Rusty Wallace, always a pre-race favorite at the road courses, suffered some damage himself. He finishes 20th. With 2 laps to go, Mark Martin appears on his way to a solid victory. But entering the carousel, Martin's car slips on some oil, giving second-place runner Dale Earnhardt the opportunity he needs, and the Intimidator takes the lead and holds off Martin for the final 2 laps of the afternoon. For Dale Earnhardt, his first career win on a road course.
I sat there behind Mark and ran a real good, smooth race, and you know, everybody that pressured me from behind just wasn't a contender. I could just take care of my tires and just move on. But Mark had really beat me off these long corners. Well, the last couple of laps, somebody threw some grease out. And that was a little deterrent, and he slipped and slid. He slipped out on the carousel, and I got under him, and that's all it took.
Well, with 10 races now complete in the 1995 NASCAR Winston Cup season, and the Chevy Monte Carlo being the dominant car, winning 8 of those 10 races, NASCAR decides to make some rule changes, giving some help to the Fords and Pontiacs by reducing the size of the rear spoiler on the Monte Carlo and raising the spoiler height for the Thunderbird and Grand Prix, thereby giving them a little more downforce, helping them especially at the big tracks like Charlotte, which is next on the schedule. But as you'd expect, the Ford drivers say it's not enough. The Chevy guys say it's too much.
A 1/4 inch of spoiler is not going to solve the world crisis, and it's just, I mean, it helps. You know, every little bit helps, but it's just not. It's not going to solve the problem.
I'm tired of really hearing about it, and I just can't believe all the crying that goes on about it. And you know, lo and behold, it changed rules again and give them more. So I don't know what's next. I guess I have to race the truck.